Hello, EggChasers. It's the EggChasers Rugby podcast, a podcast about rugby that doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. Back in the rugby dungeon, I've just realised I'm losing my voice a little bit.
All that cheering for sale.
That was the voice of JB in some what can only be described as Where's Wally / Rex Kwon Do trousers.
Rex Kwon Do, I like that.
And there's Phil. Do you know the reference?
Yeah, Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Good man.
It was over my head. I do not know the reference.
Have you ever seen Napoleon Dynamite?
Finally.
No, the list of films that I have not seen is extensive.
Well, you should make sure Napoleon Dynamite isn't one of them. Purely for the Rex Kwon Do scene.
It is a great scene. Do you remember Rob Jones in from Broughton Park?
Yes, he's also, to keep it rugby-based, he's
MMU head coach, right?
of Manchester Metropolitan University, yep.
Yeah. So he used to tell us like what a great fighter he was and how hard he was and all, classic braggadocious stuff. So we came up from that scene with Rob Kwon Do. So every time we saw him, it was Rob Kwon Do.
You got a little bit of Rob Kwon Do one night, didn't you?
No, I've never got into a tangle with Robert.
I thought it was the club dinner, but maybe
no. He's been in some tangles in the club dinner. I've been in some tangles in the club dinner,
but not at the same time.
Never been in a tangle together.
Right, we've got lots to discuss on this. This is going to be our European club general rugby-based podcast. We're going to have another one in the feed, which is our predictions and our brief thoughts on the England squad. It's quite exciting.
Hang on, is there an England squad? Are we predicting
tomorrow?
Oh yeah, I know that. Oh right, tomorrow. Yeah, we don't have the England squad.
We do not.
No, we do not have it.
Right.
No.
Do you want me to see if I can find it?
You won't. I don't think you will find it. Bearing in mind, Steve Borthwick in charge of Leicester Tigers, you couldn't find out which players were injured or not. You're not. There's no way you're going to find out what the England squad is ahead of time. Not a chance.
Because there often is leaks ahead of time with these things, but maybe not with Borthwick.
I predict not with Borthwick, but we'll see. I guess maybe
12 o'clock tomorrow.
I assume it's something like that.
Yeah, usually is it 10 or it's usually in the morning.
Yeah, I think it's normally like 10 or 11.
Imagine the pressure on putting together your first England squad.
Oh, it's awesome. It's like it's like Football Manager for real. It's so
Isn't
good.
it?
There was one time, I think, was it Stuart Pearce? He got a job as a football manager. His first job as a football manager. I can't remember who it was, but he sat in bed one night and he was scribbling down formation ideas and stuff. And he said to his wife, "Oh my, I've come up with an amazing one." And she looked at it and went, "Stuart, you've got 11 players on the pitch. You haven't got a goalkeeper."
Exactly what I would do.
Fantastic.
Right. So thank you very much for listening. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, wherever you get your podcasts. And for more content, patreon.com/EggChasers, which also helps support the podcast, keep the lights on, which is no mean or cheap feat these days.
No,
so
it's not.
We very much appreciate your help. And all this electrical gear, which me and Phil walk away from sweating every night. There's that much of it.
Well, that's because it's mining Bitcoin when you're not here.
Any news? What's going on? Any news?
Well, there has been a rumour in the Rugby paper, and I think this is fairly substantial. Dave Ewer's going to Ulster.
Oh,
You heard that one?
I hadn't, but I'll take it.
Yeah. Now, if I'm Exeter, I think I get rid of Stuart Hogg. I think I get rid of Jack Knoll. I get rid of everybody to keep Dave Ewers.
Yeah,
I think he's their single most important player.
Dave Ewers would be pretty far down the line. And I imagine, compared to the likes of Hogg, he'll be relatively cheap as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
He will not be on Hogg money.
And also Hogg.
Hog money.
Very good.
So, yeah, well, so Hogg cash is a lot. They've got what's the young lad called who was absolute dynamite? Hodge. Who looks like he's going to be okay.
Yeah, and aren't they losing Kirsten or?
Yeah, Giannis Kirsten.
Is he going back
to South Africa?
Yeah.
Luke Cowan-Dickey's on the way out.
Yeah.
Sounds like Jack Knowles on the way out.
A brace of Simmons could be once confirmed,
Simi.
once rumoured. Simi.
Yeah, well, one Simmons is definitely gone. They don't know about the other one.
The
What are they going to do
rumoured.
with the, like... I mean, they're going to have loads of cap room, so maybe they're looking for a massive rebuild. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but then, if they have got loads of cap room, surely they won't be letting go of all of these players at the same time. You'd keep some of the...
Thing is, though, I wonder if DOR is going to start looking at their success in waves. So if you've got a team which is nearly there and it's not quite doing it, like Exeter Chiefs are not quite doing it,
Yeah.
do you just blow it up all in one go? Do you just get rid of them all right now? because otherwise you're sort of always going to be struggling to get into that top 4. You're going to be you don't want to be perennial Northampton.
I was just going to use Northampton
Yes.
as the example of.
I've been thinking a lot about Northampton
teams
this
that
week.
have the cause of their. It's not demise, because far from a demise, but the cause of their lack of success has been holding on to players for too long.
Yeah, they're middling. They're not. It's not a demise.
No.
Well, no, do you know what
Because they got
Northampton are?
relegated.
But under Malinder, the reason
ago.
it all fell apart and they went from champions to Malinder, an exit, is because he held on to those players for too long. That was in a non-salary cap environment where you could.
Well, it was official salary cap, but
Yes.
it wasn't an enforced salary cap.
Although
there was Northampton
Steve
were
Diamond-
never accused of being one of the ones who.
No, true.
I think
who
Steve
did
Diamond
breach it.
would claim some credit for Northampton's success. Because if you think about it,
Foden,
Malinder,
Burrell.
well, yeah, Malinder and Diamond basically leveraged all of their influence from their under-20s, England under-20s or under-21s.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the Northampton side that did well, or when they started to do well, they were full of young
Courtney
English.
Laws, Corbs,
Yeah.
Yeah, Corbs.
Foden.
London Irish.
Ben
is Corbs.
Foden,
They
Foden,
took
Big Lou.
did they take Keenan Mile?
Keenan Mile.
they-
No, that was Sale Leeds, and then
Christian Day?
Christian Day, yeah. Good show.
There was absolutely loads of them that sort of travelled down. So they had their finger well on the pulse of who was good, who was not.
But but the reason it went wrong is because he kept on to those players and didn't regenerate.
Yep.
And we've also seen Leicester when they just finally, they were only able to do it because there was no relegation and it was a bit of an unrealistic situation to be able to do it in. But fair play, he took advantage of the situation that was there and chopped off the dead wood. I'm not calling Dave Ewers dead wood, but what I am saying is maybe it actually points to someone who's not going to go the way of Malinder, and Rob Baxter is going to continue as the elite DOR that he has been, because he's doing root and branch surgery.
The only thing that matters in rugby is winning the entire thing. So I don't think it matters if you come 6th. I don't think it matters if you come 8th. I don't think it matters if you came 8th this year and then 7th next. Doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is winning the Premiership now. So I wonder if Rob Baxter's like, well, okay, we're going to come 6th, or we might get top 4, but we're not going to be a good team. So let's get all the hard work done now, get them all out the door, and then we'll just rebuild. And I wonder if he's got a structure in mind. If you don't fit that structure, as in a number structure, salary cap structure, top earners are this, middle earners are that, you're going to have to go and we'll just find new
And with
lads.
Exeter Chiefs, what I would say is that the people that if you were looking at that squad now and go, who do we not want to lose? You don't want... It would be a travesty if Richard Capstick is playing for another club in 2 years' time, or Chris Chunza is playing for another club in 2 years' time.
He's going. He has to go, doesn't he?
I mean, he probably does have to go. But you know what I mean? You take the point. There are players...
the Welsh rules mean he has to go.
Yeah,
Although
unfortunately.
hopefully those Welsh rules might crumble.
Yeah, but hopefully, because Gatland's now king, dictator in Wales, so it might change. But there you go. That Richard Capstick as an example in the Exeter back row. If he couldn't be accommodated and paid what he's worth, and he's not in the team in 2 years' time as a 26-year-old versus Dave Ewers as a 33-year-old, then it's a no-brainer.
The other another example, we mentioned Northampton, but another example of keeping players. It's a weird one, maybe too long or maybe to the detriment of the club. Think of the really good Quins players, England Quins players who won the league in 2012.
Oh, great shout.
So Rob Shaw, Marler, Kerr, Mike Brown, Ugo, and probably others. Nick Easter, probably in that, who in 2012, certainly half of those guys would have been young, relatively up and coming. They all, because they were England regulars and they won the league, they all got these mega deals, which meant there was no cap room for anyone else. So they were all on 300-400k, which meant there's no money for anyone else. So you've got to keep guys that you've brought, but if it's to your own detriment, if they're too expensive, it causes consequences elsewhere.
It does.
And that might be what Baxter's trying to avoid.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because there is another bit of news. Not huge news, but Dave Ribbons looks like he's on his way out. And this is exactly the sort of player who we're going to see leaving the Premiership left, right and centre. So Phil pointed out then that the Harlequins boys is like a bad model. I actually think that might be the model that a lot of clubs go back to now, because you can only retain the top talent if they're England talent. You can't afford to pay them, like Kerr, Rob Shaw, etc. So you've got to rely on England to pay them.
And I wouldn't say that's necessarily a bad model, but if you end up paying them too much, if you pay over the odds to retain them, then it becomes a bad model. If you can get them for the right price, then there's a big advantage to retaining homegrown talent.
And I think they will do, right?
If you pay over the odds, though, that's the problem.
Yeah, and I think they will do. And the reason I think this is because of the salary cap restraints. I actually think they're going to have a lower salary than they would have traditionally. And I think that salary will not be enough. So I think like Dave Ribbans, however you say his name, right?
Yeah, Ribbans.
Yeah, and say,
Same
give me another England second row. Not Corny Laws, let's just say Launchbury. I reckon they'll be on a similar club salary. But the only reason that Launchbury stays in the club is because England top up his salary.
Because he's in the elite squad.
Yeah, which means he'll be paid...
Or when he's in the... Because Launchbury's not currently.
150k more than Ribbans, even though they're broadly the same on their club salary cap. That's why Ribbans will go to France. I mean, you might stay in England, I don't know. But that's why a player like that, the England quality but non-international player, will then start going.
Yeah, it's the guys on the periphery. The guys who are perpetually in the England squad will stay, whereas the guys on the periphery, the likes of Sam Simmons or Dave Ribbans. Sam Simmons is a coin toss to be in the next England squad.
Yeah.
So he can guarantee, he could take, say, let's just make the numbers up, let's say 250 from Exeter and a potential 250 if he plays 12 games for England, or he can say, well, I'll just take a guaranteed 500k from France.
Exactly.
Which would you take?
Yeah.
The guaranteed 500k
from France.
Yeah.
And so it gets even more. So this is a point I made ages and ages and ages ago when the salary cap came down, which is the middle guys will go. Charlie Morgan, Telegraph, is calling this the squeeze middle.
Mm-hmm.
It's never been more obvious than it is at the moment. So the problem with this is that, like, those top players, now that the clubs are even more aligned than ever for England to pay them, it also means that the more at the mercy of England should they change the rules, or England turn around and say, hey, look, we're paying these guys almost half of their salary now because of your cap, right? So, sorry, when I say their salary, I mean their entire earnings, and that's why they're staying with you. So actually, we don't want access to them, the amount we've got. We want more access because you're going to be more and more aligned on your big stars. So actually, I think the future of the Premiership could be quite bleak if they don't look at raising the salary cap. Relatively, I don't mean massive raises, but they're going to have to look at something.
Well, they are year after next, aren't they?
Yeah, because the Ribbons and co are going to go, and the RFU are going to get their pound of flesh from their internationals. So what happens next?
Just because they raise the salary cap, it doesn't mean you have to spend up to the salary cap.
Yeah.
Some clubs, Newcastle are well under it now.
Currently, and having jettisoned, I don't know, 150, 200k in George McGuigan mid-season, they'll be even more under it.
Yeah.
But they're still getting results. They're still winning games.
So one last boring thing, and I'll let you move on to real, actual meaty rugby. Okay, but this is not my idea. This is the idea of Mark Evans, right? So I'm not going to claim it. But for every England player that you get cash from England, right? Which is excluded from your salary cap. Now I can't remember exactly what the number is. Say it's 100k, right?
Yeah,
so,
I think is it 50k?
Yes,
whatever it is, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. So you got your salary cap,
player credits,
and then you get your player credit, right? And that player credit is there, so you can spend that money on replacements for your players when they go on international duty. What do you think happens to that credit in reality?
Gets given to the players.
Gets given to the players, right?
Because they know. You've got an extra 50k, so I want an extra.
Sure, it's 100k.
Oh,
sure
it might be. Yeah.
So the agent will.
They offer more money to keep them in the anticipation that they'll get that money to offset.
Yes, exactly.
Some of their salary.
It's like, oh, you got 100k of extra England money? Have you? I think I'll have that.
Yeah.
So instead of giving it all to the clubs,
80k per player.
There we go. Instead of giving it all to the clubs that produce the most players, what if you just got that amount and divvied it up? I was going to say by 13, but it's no longer 13 clubs, by 11 or by 12. To reduce the incentive to send England players, but increase the incentive for every club in the league to have their 3 favourite England players in each team.
I like that. It's good. It's actually a really good way to segue into the rugby from what you've just been talking about with an email here. Literally just got it from Alexander Peake.
Peaky.
Thank you very much, Pico. He says, evening fellas, love the pod, blah, blah, blah. Just wanted to get your thoughts on Premiership compared to the URC and top 14. He says, pundits and commentators have waxed lyrical about how competitive the league, as in the Premiership, has been this season. Mm-hmm. I think this is a misunderstanding. The league may be more, quote, competitive in that most teams can beat any other team, Saracens and Sale aside, perhaps. but this is only because the ceiling has been brought down. All of the Premiership teams have glaring failures, mainly in physicality and defence. Again, Sale and Saracens aside. This leaves them unprepared for Champions Cup. The England players for Test Rugby. Even Saracens and Sale have struggled against non-Premiership opponents. A little stat from this weekend's round to drive home the point. The Premiership sides have conceded 33 points on average.
Yeah. Can I just say about him? I think that's a brilliant email. I think he's absolutely nailed it. The ceiling's definitely come down. So the way I view...
Rugby communism.
Rugby communism, yes, exactly. But I would also say this, it's just made people think more. So I believe now that the authorities in rugby, or the guys that run rugby clubs, have got to decide where they want to be bad. So as Chris Boyd says, what makes the boats go faster? So in his mind, he likes to play beautiful attacking rugby. That's why Northampton are so beautifully coached and good at what they do, and so dreadful at the things that they don't do. Northampton are the perfect Premiership team because it encapsulates what the salary cap changes have done. I actually quite like it. As a spectacle, I quite like it. But I also do appreciate that the teams are nowhere near... yeah, that's the difference. I think the teams in the Premiership are actually better than the URC teams, and to a degree, some of the French teams at the things they decide to do, but they're far less rounded and they're far less deep. So I think they're really well coached. Northampton, I don't think anyone plays as nice rugby as Northampton. It doesn't win games, though.
It certainly doesn't in the European competition this year. They are 3-0. If you look at the unbeaten teams, thus far, there's 2 from the Premiership, 2 from top 14, and 2 from URC.
There's 2 from the Premiership.
Yeah,
Leicester Tigers,
Saracens and Leicester.
Wow, yeah.
There's La Rochelle and Toulouse,
Okay.
first and second in Pool B, and then Leinster and the Sharks, the other Sharks.
Right, okay, there you go.
So, draw from that what you will. Be interesting to see how many from each make it through to the quarters, semis and final.
So I just think there is such a glaring gap between the best teams in the competition, Toulouse, Leinster, La Rochelle. Anyone else to add to that?
Sharks.
Maybe.
Sharks, their pack is an international pack.
Yes.
Sharks have to be up there.
So I put Sharks,
Saracens and
those 4,
and
and then Saracens are not far off. So I put them into the 5.
I put Sharks and Saracens into the same sort of like 1A category.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah. I'd be interested to see those two play each other because I think that'd be quite a nice matchup.
Yeah.
And then Leicester are the... So that we've just listed the unbeaten teams. Leicester are the other one. I don't think they're quite of that calibre, but they've been eking those wins out.
Yeah, and so winning Clermont again, it was impressive, albeit and it's not to denigrate that performance whatsoever, but it's not Clermont of years gone by, is it?
I was watching that game thinking, have Clermont and La Rochelle just embody? They've just like flipped positions. They were these like relatively small town French clubs that had like the passion of the town behind them. Both got the yellow tin, and 10 years ago, Clermont were perpetually at the top of Europe in the top 14. Now La Rochelle are in that position, and Clermont are they're nearer the bottom than the top.
I don't understand. I mean, I don't pretend I know anything about French rugby. I don't. I don't know what has happened at Clermont. Have they run out of money or something? What's the...
I have no idea. I was actually, when I was having that thought, I also thought, I wish I knew someone who was really in-depth into French rugby to say either yes, that's right, or no, you're completely wrong for these reasons. Like, explain the rise and the fall.
I think there's a bit of they've done what Jim Mallender did. They've held on to players for too long.
Well, there was a few, like Fofana was there for ages. Who's the lanky Rougerie was there for ages. Fritz Lee's been knocking around for forever. There, maybe there is a bit of that.
Do you know, I much prefer talking about things like this and actual games. So, like, what is your preferred method of squad construction? Is it 2 new faces every year, or gradual drip feed into the team, or is it just waves of kids that start off rubbish and then get better?
I don't know. You've got to see what you've got, because it's depending on if you've got, say, a brace of curries coming through the ranks. You want to throw those into the mix ASAP, but you might not have that for. You might get a brace of curries or a brace of good strong back rows like once every 4 or 5 years. So it's waiting for the time to be right and identifying the talent.
Jules Plisson is still in the Claremont matchday squad.
Exactly.
Matchday 23.
Oh, so I've got a little bit of information of who we think might be in the England squad for later.
All right. Well, don't tell me. I don't want it to cloud my own prediction.
I'm not going to say now.
Yes, don't say now.
My own prediction.
Got 3 names. I've got a name that you'll love.
So we're going to do that.
We're
going to do that on a separate pod, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Nice tease though for the next pod, JB.
Good. I like that, JB.
Oof, excellent.
I like that. By the way, contact EggChasers@gmail.com. That was a proper European match, though, wasn't it? That Leicester win in Claremont.
It was great TV. Great TV.
Great TV, and Leicester getting the result despite the number of players that they are missing, and even during the game, the number of players they're missing.
I hate this. You've got to stop it. You've got to stop it. You've got to stop it.
They're missing loads of players.
Yeah, the commentators have got to stop it. The game on Friday night, right, a whole build-up to it was about who was not playing. The game is about who is playing and what they can do.
So I agree with you.
I agree with that.
I agree in the commentary, but it's this. The point is a relevant one for this game.
I just think
it's not. It doesn't need to be over-laboured. But
no, it's fine. I thought the production and the programme was brilliant, but
nothing wrong with that.
But on a similar point, I had this.
I'm more angry with you two than I am with them.
I had this exact conversation with. It was I can't even remember what game I was working on. It was. What was it? Leicester? I can't remember. Who did Leicester play? Was it Leicester? Oh yeah, it was Leicester up at Newcastle.
Yeah. We had exactly the same conversation.
And I remember chatting to the. Yeah, no, but we didn't. If you notice.
No, we did. And BT didn't.
BT didn't in the build-up. And I remember having this conversation with the producer and going, "No, I know they're missing Montoya and Visa. We know that, but But let's just celebrate the people that are here. Look at these.
Yeah. The opportunity for the players.
So we went big on Carreras.
Yep.
And he went and had an amazing game. So
yes.
But I agree with you. When you're there in the game, building up to it, you make me excited, make me feel like this is the biggest thing ever. Now,
to me. I look at that as people are saying like the Leicester Tigers team isn't a good team. You're missing VC, missing Montoya, so on and so forth. I was looking at them like, look at these kids that they're bringing through.
Well, that's the point I was making in showing when you're missing Visa and you're missing Dan Cole and you're missing Nick Dolly and Montoya. Look at the guys who are actually performing away at the Stade Marcel Michelin in those circumstances.
Yeah, completely agree. So Leicester are. And I said this the other day, they are stockpiling some massive men. And when they all fill out, hopefully not simultaneously, because they're going to have to hand out... It's going to be very awkward contract negotiations, because you've got Chesham, you've got Martin, you've got the younger Chesham, you've got... who's the kid that played this week?
Ilione.
Ilione's an absolute monster. I mean, they're all monsters, and they're all going to want massive money, broadly speaking, at the same time. So, and, I always think...
George Martin adds to that list.
I think if Leicester Tigers are in a tussle, right, and they are... it's a 5-point game, or it's a 7-point game, Visa's going to be vital, Montoya's going to be vital, but ultimately Leicester Tigers will win or lose based on their systems and processes and what they've trained on.
Just listen, think about the size of some of their backline. Andre Pollard, Dan Kelly, Matt Scott, Freddie Stewart. That's a big backline.
They are. And I've been waiting to see Pollard actually play a game because I've not been. So far, it's been underwhelming. Hasn't it? One of the so-called best fly halves in the world has showed up at Leicester. He's done roughly nothing. I thought there were glimpses of something I think that could be fairly special going forward.
Did he give? Am I right in thinking he gave the pass back inside for Stewart for the? Scott's second try.
Matt Scott's second try.
Off the top of the line out.
Yeah.
He drifted. I think it was him. That was a lovely touch. Which was your favourite try? The best tries, because the Kelly
Simmons try.
Kelly and Cronin were crashovers. Scott's first try was an intercept with a couple of minutes on the clock. It was then Scott's second try and the Simmons try where he dances round Raka.
That was quite
Raka grasping.
Raka was useless.
Oh, he did some cool things. He did some really good things.
He was useless. He's useless at the things he's useless at. Good at the things he's good at.
Yeah. Defence, not great. Attack, he looked amazing. Which is fairly standard for Ali Veretti-Raka.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Look, he's got to stop Simmons, right? He's just got to, like, he was just so woeful in defence. They played like barbarians. So when they wanted to go forward, they had some danger, but they had no grit about them. They had no organisation in D. And when they did go forward, it felt like they only went forward successfully, kind of like London Irish, really, just off the back of talent which they happened to have on the field at that time. Nothing to do with the coach, which blows my mind, actually, because here's another one for you. John O'Gibbs has been linked to Leinster, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, now, so John O'Gibbs has been at Claremont for 2 years. They don't look like a good team.
Yeah. He wouldn't be...
They've got John O'Gibbs and Rory Teague. Maybe they went away from the French blueprint. Maybe that's where it all went wrong.
But like, John O'Gibbs is steeped in French rugby, is he not?
Yeah.
So this is not his second stint at Claremont. He's been at La Rochelle. He was at Ulster for a little while.
He was. He left to go back to... it was because of like issues at home, and then he popped up a month later in La Rochelle on twice the money.
Convenient.
I think it was... There was something a bit fishy about it.
I mean, look, he's got a hell of a CV as a coach. I've actually seen him up close coaching.
Have you?
I have, when he's at La Rochelle.
Scrum coaching?
No. It was him, O'Gara, and I was sat in the gantry up at Sale.
Oh, yeah.
So it was literally just me on a little school chair, and it's O'Gara, and there is John O'Gibbs next to me.
Yeah.
Literally as far as Tim is, and that's the whole thing in the country. And they were going wild. Like, for all the KBA and thoughtful coaching chat, they were going absolutely mental. So, he's not the calmest man that I've ever seen coach a team. The only person I've seen shout more is Gustard. So Gustard and his assistant coaches at the time, when they do the press conferences, it's like, yeah, we just want to make a decision for the players to make the best decisions that they can do. It's all on them. When you're next to him watching, all he's doing is shouting, "We told you not to do that. Why would you make that decision? Why would you do that? That makes no sense." So what he actually says and what he wants to happen are two very, very different things.
Here we go. In March 2018, he announced he was leaving Ulster to return to New Zealand for family reasons. However, in June 2018, less than 3 months after his departure, it was made public he would become the head coach of La Rochelle in France. Disappointing,
isn't it?
Yeah.
What is it? What's more disappointing, that he went to La Rochelle, or that he then left La Rochelle?
Yes. Well, maybe La Rochelle wouldn't have been where they are currently.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Before we move on to another game, I love that some of the.
He must have brought O'Gara with him then. He must have employed O'Gara. I thought it was the other way around.
Yeah, he was there before O'Gara. It doesn't mean he employed O'Gara.
Well, they were there together.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I love emails like this. Guy Van Groening, or Groening. Apologies, I've probably sent that.
Hello,
Guy.
But anyway. Dear Eggies, which is a new one. I quite like that. Love the pod, I really do. At 36 and shorter than Cheslin Colby, I hope I haven't left it too late to start. I hope I haven't left it too late to start playing again. But in the meantime, I was taken by a pod recently where you said that contributing to your local club doesn't always have to be on the pitch. So I went and took some photos for my local team, Sheffield.
Oh, excellent.
Awesome.
Which one?
Sheffield RUFC. In their narrow loss to Hollyoaks Extras, Chester RUFC. Getting these photos made my day and helped ease the pain of the absolute cluster F that was the second half of the Chiefs match. Thanks for the inspiration. Some good photos. And how good is that? What, you got someone who was listening to the podcast and is now going to his club and
take some photos. Love it.
Good work.
Do you know,
brilliant. Love it.
Like the photos that Gaynor Duffy used to post up for Broughton Park with a highlight of the weekend, trying to get a good clip of yourself for your profile picture.
Looking stacked.
Yeah.
Your Twitter profile picture is still you. It's the two of you, isn't it?
I've actually no,
or
it's not.
Has it changed?
No, because I've cropped him out. But in the original, it is you chasing me, and I look absolutely stacked. But that's from like 10 years ago. I've got a new one now. I might, because that's a Broughton Park picture. I might change it for my new
Talk H
one. Yeah.
Not Sedgley Legends or Mako Sharks.
Or Mako Sharks. No, I won't post the Mako Sharks. Or if there's a good picture somewhere, I'll put up one for Mako Sharks.
And just before we depart, Leicester Claremont. I've got to play this little clip. I forgot who sent us the email. It was from Fred Hughes. Thank you very much. Contact EggChasers@gmail.com. And he said, and it's relevant to our podcast because JB is barefooted. And, for his OnlyFans, he said he wonders if Austin Healey might be one of your subscribers to your OnlyFans foot channel because he sounds like he has a foot fetish. If you listen in just a moment, you hear his, as Fred puts it, you can hear Austin Healey's vinegar strokes.
Unfamiliar places as now. Simmons in, out, try. What a finish that is.
Oh, nice.
Do you remember when we first started the podcast? I'm certain Austin Healey listened. I mean, I know you know him, but and he would never admit to it. But I'm sure he listened.
I reckon so.
I'm sure he did.
I will never forget early on in the podcast. It must have been 2015 World Cup, although it seems like it was earlier than that.
I know what you're going to say.
Austin Healey wrote an article in the paper that was predicting. So he gave predictions for the winners of the World Cup, and he assigned probabilities to all of them. Only the probability he gave, like New Zealand 85% probability, South Africa 74% probability, Australia, and we pointed. I'm sure we got a response to him on Twitter, and it was like an angry response. I'm sure he said. He basically gave a response that did not make mathematical sense in much the same way that his percentages did not make mathematical sense.
I don't know. He might see. He sees numbers like Neo in the Matrix. Like he's a very successful businessman.
His rugby knowledge. I think he's one of the best pundits. He sees things that other people do not see.
Well,
I'm not sure those numbers were quite right.
Yeah, I go with you on that.
He might have been wrong, just on that occasion.
And also, because of his expertise, does good interviews. I loved the Wigglesworth interview.
Yeah, it was great.
It really was good.
I didn't see that.
Yes, I'd advise going back and watching it. It was one of the better interviews I've seen in a long time.
Someone who does listen both to the podcast and to, as I found out, my radio show, because Toby Flood, Taulupe Flood, one of the nicest guys in rugby. He really is. He was like, he went. So you changed shift on Virgin Radio. What's the story there, Tim?
Well, I was listening to you this afternoon, Tim.
Oh, were you?
I was.
Well, great. Good to hear, Phil. I appreciate that. So he's just finished his MBA and he's going through job interviews at the minute. But I had a good chat with him. Just such a lovely man. But, he's such a good guy.
So Leicester, they're looking. I mean, they've had a good campaign so far. I think they're up against the Ospreys next week, but
they'll qualify regardless.
Yeah, they'll qualify regardless.
What's going on with the Welsh teams all winning?
Well, I don't know. I thought Ospreys might win. In fact, I think I might have even predicted it, based on nothing really.
Well, based on the fact that Montpellier were a bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah, but they're still French champions. And they're still Ospreys. I mean, God knows how this happens. But, the question I was going to ask is, how far can Leicester go in this competition? Because I don't see it lasting much longer.
No. To get a home semi-final, they'll get...
last 16.
But is it two-legged?
No, it's not this year.
Not this year. Okay. So that will be of benefit because they'll be playing one of the lower seed teams. But I think that's their limit.
I do as well. I think
quarterfinals will be... They're just spread too thin.
Which is decent.
It is. It is.
Email here from Martin Lewis. Title, the subject, Toby Booth is an amazing coach. Love the pod, blah. In light of the Ospreys' win over Montpellier, I just wanted to point out what a great job Toby has done for us. Taulupe Booth has done for us. The spirit within the team is evident to see. Everybody is fighting hard for each other, especially when you consider 32 of our players are out of contract and due to the signing embargo imposed while the WRU drags out the funding negotiations, they can't even start negotiating. So we're putting in performances like that while not knowing if they'll be employed after May. The WRU should hang their heads in shame, and I'd fully support the players if the rumours of them going on strike for the Six Nations is true.
Yep.
Sorry, I know this is a long one, but can I also praise Leicester Tigers as a club? I'm going there next week. It will be my dad's first live match since suffering a stroke, and the help they've given me, even as an away fan, has been brilliant, and the setup at the hotel built at the ground where we're staying makes it a great venue.
That's pretty cool.
Fantastic.
That's very cool. Yeah. Thanks for your time, and if Tim's there next week, I'll try and buy you a pint. I am there next week, Martin.
And you will buy me a pint, Martin?
Yes, you will buy me a pint, Martin.
Awesome.
What will you send one of your people over to grab it for him? to grab it from him, sorry.
Did either of you see this game, the Ospreys Montpellier?
Did not.
No.
I've only seen the highlights. It's looked like a fantastic win because Montpellier, They are massive, obviously, with Lamissatelli and Paul Valemsa, who was he was carrying hard, as you might expect.
Does he carry any other way?
And Zach Mercer, but he was very effective in the carrying. One observation, a few observations, but one important one. So, Alan Wynne-Jones, absolute legend, aging a little bit, but he's still in tremendous shape.
Yep.
He really looks after himself.
How old is he?
37.
He really looks
38.
after himself. He pays no attention to what his hair looks like.
Well,
is that...
so my point, there is another man who I think played from the highlights, and I don't actually know if he got man of the match, but he probably should have, just based on the highlights. Justin Tipperick.
He did.
He was an absolute menace at the breakdown. He gave the final pass for the Cuthbert try, his crossfield kick, and then his gather for his own try, which he picked the ball up off his own toes.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
But his rig is appalling. He's playing like that. His rig
I was not expecting that twist.
His rig is the equivalent of Alan Wynne-Jones's hair. It's that disgusting. He's held together with sticky tape, but he's putting in performances like that. He is amazing.
Wow, I did not see that twist. I thought you were going to say he's such a professional.
Speaking of rigs, did you see...
the hair analogy for Justin Tipperick's rig is Alan Wynne-Jones's hair. He's that brilliant.
Yeah. Did you see the picture of... you've definitely seen the picture of the Exeter Chiefs away in South Africa with all their rigs out.
Yeah.
All their sunburn out.
Yes, the sunburn is awful.
It is awful. What's very noticeable about Exeter Chiefs, and I think it's their conditioning coaches, they're very square shapes. So there's not many of the like bodybuilder V. You've got lots of very boxy, square, powerful, hard,
big rumps.
Big rump. Yeah, the big
lots
rumps.
of deadlifting.
Yeah.
No, I mean you think about it. Like so, if you're gonna train in the gym before playing rugby, you may as well do chest, right? Because thinking about it, what do you use for rugby? You use basically your legs, and that's about it. I mean, there's not really much of a need for chest, is there?
Just a handoff, maybe. Elliot Daly definitely does a lot of chest based on his handoff.
The handoff is actually maybe one of the few things that you use, but you don't use it for scrimmaging. I mean, you don't use it for jackling. What do you don't use it?
Just like grip strength would be one, wouldn't it?
Just hang off a rig.
Yeah, hang off a rig, or just they've been able to hold onto a ball in contact.
Yeah,
that's it.
So yeah, that's why you do chest day on a Fridays.
Yeah, well,
I might iron them up here. So it is.
So I think the best rig.
Do you know what I
on
mean
that
when I
picture,
say they're quite square?
Yeah. Now I do think some of that is rugby conditioning. In season, you don't want to be too lean. Like you want your armour on.
A little bit of padding.
Hayden Thomas looks great.
Hayden Thomas looks good.
One of the coaches,
Sam Simmons.
He looks good,
Hayden Thomas,
Sam Simmons looks like solid, doesn't he?
Yeah, solid, but a little bit around the midriff to give him that power and that cushioning.
Yeah.
Dave Ewers, I'm actually quite impressed. There's a bit of definition on the abs, which at 130 kilos is
suspicious.
There's not many people who can have some definition. It's not huge definition. The one I'm incredibly disappointed. Actually, two. Ollie Woodburn he's front row, which means you should get a great look. But he's squatting down, so we can't see because I'm certain Woodburn's got a great rig, and Chris Tashunza. You can see the traps, you can see the pecs, the delts, the biceps. Amazing. Everything else is hidden, which is
just criminal.
Highly
so what are you doing?
Although I will say, I'm looking now at Sam Simmons and Joe Simmons, and my Marine Corps and Deloitte comment is 100% accurate.
Well, yeah. I mean, to be fair, that picture is not the only time that some of Exeter Chiefs' physicality was hidden, because it seems to be they hit it quite well against the Sharks.
Well, at times.
The Bulls, sorry, the Bulls.
Bulls. Now, is it worth, because this is the first game that we're going to come on to with a red card, is it worth
clumping them all together,
getting the red cards out of the way?
Do you know what? Yes, it is. But very briefly, let's go from before red cards and then back into some rugby. I don't want to go too far into the podcast before we mention some of the local grassroots rugby.
Nice
what a good idea!
Nice,
what a great idea!
So I just want to. I'm really taken with the experience I had earlier today. One of the few places where there was any games on today, at Duckinfield Rugby Club.
Why did you like Duckinfield Rugby Club, out of interest?
So Duckinfield is in to the east of Manchester, in quite a not poor's not the right word. Quite a very working class part of Manchester, right?
I would go as far to say working class and maybe a bit more.
Just
maybe
like
more.
salt of the earth, working class,
Yeah.
east of Manchester stock. So the sort of places where, and this turned out to be the case, where to keep a rugby club going, it takes no small effort from a lot of people. And all week, this guy, the coach of their teams, would go, "No, our pitches will be fine. They'll be fine. Don't worry. We'll get the game on. The pitch is drained quite well. It'll be all right because it's been biblical rain all week, and there's no games at Broughton Park this weekend because it's all underwater." Anyway, we got there, and it was a total bog. Brilliant. It was like lads were coming off caked in mud. You couldn't tell the difference between the two teams, but they had a cracking game. And Duckenfield managed to get a bare 15 players out. They had a couple of under-14s playing up a year to get a team out. They stuck at it the whole way, and it's this little pokey, old-school clubhouse that feels like the sort of place where they'd have a great lock-in, just shut the shutters and get on it all night.
And it's all shuttered up too.
Yeah, it's all shuttered up. And I just thought this is what rugby's about. This is a club that to get that bare 15 lads out on the pitch, to get beaten 48-0 by our team, but keep going the whole time was, and then keep smiling, and then they all had a big group photo afterwards in the mud. It was
awesome.
It was just what rugby's about, and I loved it. And I thought the effort, like I say, the effort to get those 15 lads out is absolutely massive from loads of parents, volunteers, the club, and it's exactly what you talk about, JB. It's a club understanding what its
give the offer
local roots are and playing to those. And I just came away just kind of feeling that I don't care about the result. It was just a heartwarming rugby experience.
Why is Duckenfield important to a certain very well-known coach in rugby union?
Mike Ford.
Correct, Mike Ford.
Mike Ford.
Yeah, I guess just because of geography.
Yeah, Mike Ford did his sort of conversion from rugby league to rugby union coaching at Duckenfield. So this must be like a couple of decades ago now. But that's kind of why I think of it. I've had some great games in Duckenfield. I mean, usually when I've gone there, it has been like a second team game. We had them pre-season for Talk H a few years ago. That was a good game. And we had an absolute hell of a game against them for Broughton Park. It's like a Broughton Park third team, but we had like five first teamers, and then the rest are like just when you have a complete mix. And I think we got beaten quite handily. They had this fly half, and with kindest will in the world. Didn't exactly look like a fly half. A little on the Andy Good side, one might say. And he played just as well as Andy Good, actually. Just pinged us into every single corner. But yeah, good bunch of boys there. Always enjoyed going.
It was nice, and bearing in mind that that there are areas where there are traditional rugby hotbeds where teams are struggling. This is not in a rugby union hotbed at all.
I don't know about that because I always think of that side of Manchester as actually pretty rugby union. I mean, there's a lot of rugby league there because you go over the M60 and you're not quite in Oldham, but you sort of got Ashton. And they used to be pretty good at one point. They're not now. They used to be pretty good. Oldham are always tough. Probably the toughest team in our league is still Old Winions. You can turn over anyone at any time. You go down to Old Winions, and that's an absolute belting club. I mean, it really is a good club. I've got a lot of time for them. So it's not. I think the difference is they don't have a big private school to feed into. But what they do have is they've got this nice mixture of.
Nor to Broughton Park, by the way. We've got a team. We've got a team of lads that don't play rugby at school.
Well, I mean, except your director of rugby is from Sedbergh, and except for your two halfbacks are from Sedbergh.
No. I'm saying our under 15 team.
I'm just saying, just level things out. There's quite a lot of
our under 15 team. Rafi Quirk's Broughton Park under 15 team, which won its 10th game in a row today.
Yeah. So
10 straight wins.
Up that side of Manchester, very, very, very tough, and they utilise their rugby league connections quite well too. So yeah, it's an interesting mix, but they don't have that. I think they don't have that club which is sort of taking that next step yet into level 6 or level 5.
Well, I had a good local rugby experience this weekend. Went back to Sedgley Park to watch the Tigers against Harrogate.
Well, that is a good game actually.
Well, Harrogate's second from bottom. Sedgley unbeaten. So it wasn't the best game.
Did they lose a playoff or something last year, Sedge? Would have come third.
Doesn't matter.
Might have come third. Yeah.
Tell me about your Saturday.
But it just a good fun day. So went for drinks and meal beforehand. So there, hour and a half early. Good dinner, good feed, few drinks, some interesting and risque jokes told by Ernie Neely, one of the old boys, and a nice little speech from the Harrogate president, and then a good game, which Sedgley won, a very strong win, but a good game that Sedgley won. I think it finished 39-7.
And are you like a Sedgley celeb now?
No, not at all.
Not
at all.
Well, one of our old players, he does EggChasers.
Not at all. Not as in, not even in the slightest. Although JB did get a shout out.
Get in
when I was there, because one of the boys, well, quite a few of the boys that we played with in the Legends with were there, but one of them, Ben Black.
Oh yes,
who got mentioned on the pod. He was rested this week for big game next week. And he was having the pre-match dinner and maybe a couple of pints in the bar watching the game. And he said, so in our pod, just after the Legends game, you said, suggested he might be 120 kg. And I said, he might be a bit more than that.
What is he?
Well, he's given you an invitation. He said, you're welcome to come down to Sedge to weigh him any time.
Excellent.
Pick him up and weigh him. The Sam Simmons treatment. He said it's actually closer to 140.
Oof, wow.
He is massive.
Wow.
He is a big BSP. Big strong boy.
And just on the local rugby thing, let me just quickly mention this email from friend of the pod, long-time listener, Joe Riley, who refed his first match in 6 months on Saturday.
Good lad.
He had a very tough year the last year, and all he's seen in his time out of the game was refs getting ragged in the media, and it made him a bit worried, thinking that maybe I won't bother with that. But he did, absolutely loved it. Refereed Farnborough v Kingsclear in the Hampshire leagues.
The Airshow Cup.
Yeah. Proper contest in the mud, and the ensuing shower, pint, and observing the boat race was a cracking afternoon. He said, I'm sure there'll be someone listening who's teetering on stopping reffing, but stick with it. And remember, community rugby, real rugby, needs someone with a whistle no matter how many mistakes they make.
Just on Joe Riley, I owe him some rugby shirts. I promised him that when I eventually get my loft done and clear out all my wardrobes, I will give him a few rugby shirts, because I think he was building a bit of a sports bar lounge.
It's built but not fully decorated. So
he's faster with his bar area construction than my loft. So we're hopefully maybe 6 to 8 weeks away from PC on my works.
So I've got things to say about Marlow. I've got things to say about
how did my boys get on?
Bolton, and also I think you call them Wimbledon. I'll come back. I'll come back to that later. Wimbledonians.
All right, fine. Red cards.
But we'll come back to that later, because I want to talk about why everybody hates Owen Farrell.
Like you included.
Well, we all hate Owen Farrell.
Me?
We all hate Owen Farrell.
What are you talking about? Tim has done one of the most
popular videos on YouTube praising Owen Farrell.
I love the man. I think he's the best 10 in the world.
That's incredible. That's an astounding claim. He's probably not the best 10 in England, but he's a very good 10. There's no two ways about it. He's a very good 10. He's just not the best 10 in England.
He's the best. He's one of the best 10s in the world, if not the best. And he's also
not the best.
He's also the best 12 in England.
That's incredible. These are incredible statements.
I think he probably is. It depends what your question is. Do you want the best 10?
I just want to know why everyone. So
no, just on the best 10. If he was the best, would you say, if you're going to pick any 10 in England to start either a Champions Cup or a World Cup final tomorrow?
Which team?
Tomorrow.
Which team?
England.
For England?
Oh, sorry, England, not the Champions Cup. So World Cup final for England tomorrow.
Depends on the philosophy of the coach, and it depends on the style that they're playing.
What's your point about Owen Farrell? Hating Owen Farrell?
Let's be honest. There's only two ways to think about Owen Farrell: disgusting scumbag thug, or saintly god. So, are you in the saintly god or scumbag thug?
No, I allow nuance, but if I
had
to pick one,
you don't do nuance on this podcast.
He's a saintly god.
We're about to go into the red cards. We can't do any nuance.
We can't do any nuance, right? So because I'm not allowed to do nuance, I've got to go for scumbag thug. I've just got to. Phil, you're saintly god?
He's a northerner. He's a rugby league boy.
Oh, that's a good point. Actually,
He
does get some.
definitely extra points for being a rugby league man.
Yeah, he does get some. Yeah, look,
and his father's the hardest man in rugby. So.
I couldn't care less either way actually about this, and I think some of the comments about it are absolutely ludicrous. I think the whole process is ludicrous. I think the RFU continuing to do the sanctioning whilst running the England team just leaves it open to criticism and mockery.
But it means they get their players rested when they want them.
Exactly.
No. Let me just summarise this by saying anyone that looked at the what happened in the game last weekend and the tackle that Owen Farrell made, and looked at the citing decision that was made. Anyone that looked at those two things and thought that there was in any way, it's bonkers. Some people are convinced there's a conspiracy going on
against
RFU.
Owen Farrell.
Oh, what a surprise! He's back for the Six Nations.
Well, come on, that's not beyond the pale, is it?
It's not beyond the. But
it's worth millions of quid.
If you just looked at the incident and the outcome, you go, "Oh yeah, totally, that's fair enough."
Yeah. Okay. I don't know about this, right? So look, I'm happy.
Well, you think you deserve more than 3 weeks?
I'm happy in a standalone incident, right? To say, okay, looking at that looks like 3 weeks. Fine, done.
So there we go.
But it's not true to say he's not a repeat offender. It is not true to say he's got outstanding behaviour.
Wasn't the box in the thing that said, did it have any material impact on the game?
Nope.
None.
No, well, what that... Well...
Come on, Tim.
Well, there's no guarantee that Saracens wouldn't have won the game.
Well, the thing is, it just needs to be clarified, because I know what they mean. What they mean is there's no material impact, as in the player wasn't hurt, he didn't have to go off.
Exactly.
It didn't mean uncontested scrums.
That's what they meant.
But it's still absolutely hilarious.
It seems funny, yeah.
Yeah.
It seems funny, but the reaction is just insane. And these are like there are some people like on Twitter and stuff, especially, who throw the accusation of conspiracy theorists out there at lots of people, and it's not deserved. Many of those people are actual conspiracy theorists.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I definitely fall into that category. How many tackles a game do you think Owen Farrell makes?
I don't know, but
10 tackles, right?
Before you go I just want to take issue with something you said. You say it's not like he's not a repeat offender.
He is a repeat offender.
How long has he been playing? What, 12, 13 years?
No, come on.
13 years has he been playing at a professional now?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think did he not get close to making a debut with his old man in 2008?
He did.
Yeah.
He did play with his old man.
So let's say 14 years. He's been a professional for 14 years.
I love
right?
this. So go on.
How many times he had a red card or been cited?
Well, Charlie Atkinson was bad one.
Definitely one there.
Two.
But like he always...
Two. Interesting.
Yeah, but the fact he hadn't been cited for...
Twice.
The no arms on Esterhazen in the autumn. I mean, that was a bad one.
That got looked... But that
got looked at and rejected.
Yeah, well, this is exactly why conspiracy theories exist.
So he's been cited 3 times in his whole career.
Right. So
that's 3 out of probably north of 3,000 tackles.
Right,
we're talking about.
Okay, so this is the point.
So it's a 1 in 1,000 hit rate.
Oh God, this is so ridiculous, right? So
those are just numbers.
So there was,
and that's during a period of time where the laws of the game have changed dramatically.
There is a journalist. He's pretty good actually, called James Whale, and he did the same thing as you. And he said, like, this means...
Not that James
I'm
Whale.
not sure, actually. No. I'm actually not sure.
I didn't know he was a rugby fan.
I'm genuinely not sure. He's just... James Whale on good rugby account. This isn't a judgment on him. It's a good rugby account. But he does the same sort of maths, and so he says, so his illegal tackle rate is 0.000.
Yeah,
0.00002.
1 in 1,000.
Right.
1 in 1,000.
Here's the thing, right? So, if it's like 1 in 4, he simply wouldn't be a professional rugby player. If it's 1 in 10, that's 1 red card a game. If it's 1 in 100, he's going off once every 10 games. So he is a professional rugby player. You've got to kind of compare him to other professional players who probably have never been cited 3 times for red card offences. He's more like Butch James than he is George Ford.
Well, Adam Coleman's had 3 red cards this season in the
Premiership.
He's a second row. In 12 games.
I just don't think Owen Farrell is very good at tackling. I've always said this. I think he's a good hitter. I think he takes his defensive responsibility too seriously. It's part of his character. It's like a character flaw. And when he was really solid in defence, he has someone next to him who does the hard work, usually Brad Barrett. So he doesn't have to think about this. He doesn't have to be the defensive leader. When he is the defensive leader, It's an absolute nightmare. It's been a nightmare for years.
3 sightings in 14 years.
Yeah, but then there's the missed tackle situation. He's just not a good defender.
Okay.
He's just not a good defender.
Okay, that's fine.
You did have a period of religiously counting the missed tackles.
Yeah.
What happened to that?
I just can't count that high. Ran out of numbers to use. So yeah, look, three games. It's not the end of the world.
There was 4 red cards this weekend.
5.
5, sorry.
So I kind of wanted to do them
And Luke Cowan-Dickey.
Well, yeah. So we'll get onto that. So there's a little bit of sequence to the red cards that I've got written down here. Not a chronological sequence, but there's a logic to it in my head. So first one so what I thought we'd do is I'll mention the 5, briefly go over them, and we'll give the referees a percentage score out of 100.
Okay.
Based on
they
how
don't
many
have to add up to 100.
how many we agree.
So we can do it like Austin Healy did it.
No. They have to add, because
Right.
if they get 3 right out of 5,
Yeah.
then that's 60%.
Okay.
If they get 1 right out of 5, that's 20%.
Gotcha.
If we think they were right on all 5, 100% rating for the scores. What were you going to call this segment, JB?
Red card district.
Perfect.
Have you got any music for the red card
I'll
district?
work on it. You carry on.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, first one I wanted to go for, Cobus Visa versus Toulouse.
I don't. It is a red card.
I get it. It's a red
It's
card.
a red card, isn't it?
I think that's a definite red card.
It is a definite red card.
I just don't want it to be a red card.
I don't want it to be a red card.
I'm absolutely fine with that. So in my mind, and tell me why I'm wrong here. So he dives off his feet.
Everyone dives off their feet.
But he dives off his feet. You dive off your feet.
Sorry, that's an
That's
advert.
fine.
That's an advert.
Oh.
That was an advert.
Still works.
No, it doesn't. It needs to be sleazy red card district.
Oh, nice bit of sax.
We're in the red card district now.
Oh,
Perfect.
Yeah. Ooh, nice.
So Visa, he dives off his feet. He's a chicken wing.
It's hard to concentrate.
and
I'll turn it off in a second.
and
We've
makes
seen it through the
contact
intro.
with the head with force.
Yeah.
So that for me it's a bit of a no-brainer. That
I just think, like, break it down now. Everyone's so low. You're saying everyone stay low. He's low. So if he stays on his feet, would that be okay? Probably not.
It's the one. It's
just
that
the
one
contact
thing.
with the
So
head,
there was
isn't
there's an offence committed by the defending player, which causes Cobus Visa to be red carded. That no referees ever penalise, and it's what needs to be penalised if they actually want to solve this problem, rather than dishing out red
Shoulders
cards.
below the hips.
Shoulders below the hips.
Yep.
I am with that. And at the end of the Montpellier Ospreys game, George North won a penalty. There is absolutely no. So not only were his shoulders way below his hips, he was in no way, shape, or form supporting his own body weight.
Yeah,
that should have been a clear Montpellier penalty with the clock in the red.
So with the Cobus Visa one, what I would have liked is them to look at the decision and say that was illegal play there by Cobus Visa. You've gone off your feet with your shoulder, tucked arm into the back of the head. So we're talking serious level of danger. It's a red card. However, Cyril Bai, or whoever it was, look at the position you're in. You gave him nowhere to go, so that mitigates it down to a yellow.
How about this?
That's an interesting one. I would do something to say maybe not mitigate that, but the penalty on field goes to Sale.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe
First defence.
Okay, well,
it's tough, isn't it?
It is.
It's tough. But anyway, that needs if they actually want to stop these sorts of hits, and this is where the most danger is.
I do agree
they've
with
got
that.
to get the defender upright.
So I've got 2 thoughts which I'm going to try and combine here. So the first one was law enforcement in the old West, cowboy country.
What, like rucking and people hitting each other?
No, literally like
self-policing.
Like in the Wild West.
In the Wild West.
Oh, right.
Like the American Wild West.
Yeah.
So a bit
the
of that.
frontier.
Yeah, and also Corabetti versus Mpimpi, where one player was diving in the air, the other one was doing something else. They're both illegal, therefore no rugby occurred. So if you do something which means that you're outside of the laws of the game, you automatically become an outlaw.
So it's
which means you're not protected by the laws.
You can't litigate someone for not paying you for the drugs you've supplied them.
Correct.
You're both outside the laws.
Exactly right. So
actually, in that situation, the ref would look at it and go,
You weren't playing rugby. You weren't playing rugby. Cancels each other out.
Now, I'm not so sure. I maybe need some work, but
no. I'm pretty certain this is exactly right.
Okay.
So then, Cobus Visser can go to a committee, which will then ban him later for reckless play outside of the field of rugby.
Okay.
And then Cyril Bayer can also go to a different committee for inviting such stupidity from Cobus Visser, and then everyone wins.
The problem with that is headshots become free game as soon as you're doing.
Don't do illegal shit. Nothing used to sort out rucks quicker than standing on people.
Imagine what someone like Bakkies Burton would have done with that law. Like he sees someone doing something illegal and runs in with a haymaker.
Or just one guy is illegal and the 8 guys like honeypot towards him. Great opportunity for like attacking coaches. If you get one guy who's willing to risk himself in a legal position to get all of the opposition to honeypot towards him to get the cheap shots, gaps everywhere.
Or
I could just see someone. A little scrum off, Nick White, mouths off to the ref. He says, "Effing hell, sir."
Legal.
Just decked it instantly.
That's how it was the game, sir.
by the ref.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that one, it was a red card, fine. Yeah.
Yes.
So can we skip Kieran Parker then? Because I think that's similar.
Well, Kieran Parker is very similar.
Very similar.
I actually think it's on the spectrum. Cobus Visser is slightly worse, but Kieran Parker is not as much force. But it's still a red card. It's very similar.
In the game, I don't. If you watch the Sale game, Sam Warburton did some brilliant stuff, like trying to demonstrate how you could do something different in Cobus Visser's case, come in at a slight angle, go for the leg to lift the leg. And
I remember having I was pretty young. One of our old player coaches, Tim Furry, as you would expect, number 8 / second row, big South African. And he did some work on that with us, like clearing out work, just a slight angle, lifting one leg, just a slight, not enough of an angle to be like you're not coming through the gate, but just change the picture, and it was really, really good. Like just a slight different way of thinking about it, rather than just took your arm, shoulder to the head,
bash.
Yes,
yeah. So Kieran Parker sorted, fine.
Yeah, in that game, Ben Loader.
Yeah.
Now I think it is a red card according to the laws, and I'm actually okay with it being a red card, just partly because it's incredibly rare, and both players were knocked out from it. So anything you can try and do to prevent that situation is broadly a positive thing. It was force, it was contact with the head. It wasn't intentional from him because he put his own head there, but I'm okay with that being a red card.
Yeah.
So that's 3. So they're on they're on 100% so far, but the worst they can do is 60%. That then moves contact to the head with force onto Henry Slade v. the Bulls.
Ridiculous.
This is shocking.
It will get overturned, so he's not going to miss any of the Six Nations.
I agree. I think this will get overturned. And I think when I first saw it, I was like, that looks pretty nasty. But then when you slow it down, it's contact with the shoulder. He's trying to make a wrap. It's a very dynamic situation. The player's 15 is incredibly low. The contact with the shoulder, it then slides up and it does hit his head neck. But that surely is mitigation to me.
It's mitigation. The force, it isn't shoulder to head, it's arm as well.
It's weak arm, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there's lots of mitigation. It will get downgraded.
No effect on the game, though.
Well, I think it will get downgraded. I'm hopeful it will. Although I have seen, I try and avoid Twitter as much as I can. I've seen some reactions to it, and we'll talk about the reactions. But I've seen some like swinging arm to the head.
Oh,
it's like, that's just not what it was.
We've all been on the receiving end of a swinging arm to the head.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I have.
Particularly when you go to some
certain
clubs you go to, like rugby league country. When you go there, bang, forearm head.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I actually got a bit of a
Send him
shot
off.
to the head.
Oh, by the way, on that Mick Morgan commentary, sorry, JB,
Darts.
that darts
The
guy
darts.
definitely did, because I wondered at the time when I first saw it. I can't spake.
Yeah.
I was like, is he referencing Mick Morgan? Turns out he definitely was. Anyway,
Excellent.
That is one of the best sporting moments I've seen in a long time. That darts moment.
Yeah. Anyway, Jimmy, you got forearms to the head.
I did, but we'll save it for later.
Are you sure you're okay to continue the pod?
So we're on
I had to avoid
80%
our
currently.
physio like the plague.
So we're on 75%. So we're on 3 out of 4 as it currently stands.
Quite right, Phil.
But the best they can do. Is it worth talking about? Because we just mentioned Twitter and Henry Slade. Is it worth talking about LCD, mullet-dicky?
I think it probably is, actually.
Go on, then talk about mullet-dicky.
So he just thought rugby's gone soft, left it. Just left it hanging there. 25 quote tweets later, and they're all negative. It's like, this is so unhelpful. Like, it's not his job to help you with your personal crusade, you absolute grifters. I don't play this game to get life-changing head injuries. Well, don't play it then. Just don't play it. And it just goes on and on and on. Now, what I hate about this is that everybody who has a view on LCD, and they're more than welcome to their views, of course, but everyone has a view. For the majority of the people who are the strongest concussion advocates, they have got no skin in the game whatsoever when it comes to rugby. LCD is an active professional rugby player who's been told nothing his entire life other than you're going to get concussions and you're probably going to die horribly if you continue to play this game. And yet he still wants to continue to play this game, and he thinks it's going soft. Now, I am pretty sure if I quizzed him about what he means by that, he can't possibly mean the physicality of the game. He can't possibly mean that. So he's not talking about that. He probably is talking about the ridiculous nature of the high tackle debate now. As for seatbelt tackles, for instance, instant penalty, I'm kind of thinking that they should come back just to be normal play, because no one's getting concussed by seatbelt tackles. I mean, that's actually been statistically proven. It hasn't made it any safer. And you get these perverse games when Henry Slade, one of the key guys for Exeter, has gone off. This could change Exeter's entire season. And I think a lot of the pro players are actually, when you talk to them off the record, are basically in the same mind as him. They've chose to play the game. They know the risks. If they know something about concussion, the activists and the grifters, if they actually know something, tell them the truth, tell them the real risks, but don't go around trying to scare them. Don't go around trying to scare parents just to further your narrative or to gain extra funding for your next piece of crap research. Just tell them the truth and cease saying that they're going to die a horrible death which they can do nothing about. So yeah, he's more than welcome to his view, and I think a lot of people probably agree with him, particularly around the seatbelt stuff.
Well, let's see. If Henry Slade doesn't get... Well, I'll just put it this way.
Yeah.
If Henry Slade's card does not get downgraded, and if he, as a result, misses some of the Six Nations, then I will agree with Luke Cowan-Dickey that rugby is softer than it was. Rugby,
you have to...
game's not gone soft, but the game will clearly have gone softer if we are dishing out red cards and upholding them for seatbelt tackles.
So the problem with Cowan-Dickey...
but I think it will get downgraded. So
go on, Phil.
I was just going to say, it depends, because I don't actually know if that will be done by the RFU as a Premiership card would be.
EPCR.
Or the EPCR, which will have a load of French, Irish, Scottish, dodgy Romanians on the board.
Yeah.
It might actually be... It might get banned for...
longer.
Conveniently, the whole of the Six Nations.
So let me be very clear with what I'm saying. If it doesn't get downgraded, and if that is meeting the standard of a red card, then rugby is unquestionably softer.
That element is softer than it was.
I think
if seatbelt tackles get red cards, then rugby is softer. That doesn't mean it's soft.
Yeah.
But it's softer.
Do you know what I think's happened to the concussion debate? I had this thought today. So the problem with LCD is he's put up this tweet, a very simple catchphrase: Rugby has gone soft.
No, how soft is rugby?
Same difference, right? But okay, that's exactly what.
But he's talking about that specific decision.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there is that. And people go, no, that's not a constructive way to discuss, the debate. As if one side has to be constructive, but the other side can be absolute scumbags about it. So
it's Twitter as well.
Yeah, no, but it's not just Twitter. No. Don't.
The problem with that is that
some of the most prominent concussion so-called scientists at the moment are going round to various conferences, holding up posters for World Rugby, accusing them of being like the tobacco firms. And the thing we've got to understand is it's not just Twitter. These guys are doing these scummy behaviours in real life. So one side has to be knowledgeable and full of facts and completely respectful. The other side can do whatever the hell they want. And it's the other side that has been the most successful in changing the laws and trying to influence behaviours of not players, but people like parents, affecting the game, ruining it, trashing its reputation, dragging it through the mud.
I know, but it's large. It is massively disproportionately driven on Twitter by a very small number of people.
Oh, yeah. And then that behaviour is amplified through Twitter. I actually think that they're in a stage now that they've found that their tactics have been so successful, they're not bothered about concussion. They're bothered about just upsetting people or getting people to react so they can say, oh, you're part of the game's gone soft brigade. It's sort of like the modern political climate that we find ourselves in. It's not about proving your point, it's about upsetting the other people.
Well, and from that point of view, and you can speak, you can say that as someone that quite likes to throw out grenades onto Twitter because you enjoy the reaction that you get. That's why you do it, and it's that's.
But I'm not arguing for concussion changes. No, I'm not standing on the.
But the point remains, the motivation behind you doing it, consciously or subconsciously, is that you get endorphin releases. You get that what's the hormone?
Dopamine.
Dopamine. You get the dopamine hit from the reaction that you get, and you know, hitting refresh and seeing, and it's this. Just as you do it with some things that you know is going to be incendiary to some people, you check it out. That's just the same, and that's where Twitter comes in because it incentivizes divisive. Non-nuanced opinions.
So I was having a really good actual discussion with a well-known rugby blogger today, like someone who is very, very good at what he does. And we're talking like just the debate has just degenerated now into our side versus your side. You're either for head injuries or you're against them. And one side, which is I'd say I'm on, which is we need to have a proper reasoned discussion about this. Just don't get heard. The only people that get heard are these absolute morons that use phrases like, oh, game's gone soft brigade, or you're going to die, or you've all got brain injuries brigade, or we need to reclassify concussion and only call it severe brain injury from now on, or the game's in a crisis, the game's going to die. It's going to die because of their actions, not because of how the game is developing itself. If they know something about concussions, say it. But the fact that they're just going out there to try and worry people is pretty vile. Because I'm pretty sure they're doing it now just to stoke division rather than actually improve the game.
The last red card was, I don't know if you saw it, Munster versus Northampton. O'Donoghue got a red card for a high shot on ribbons. I think it was a bit unlucky from O'Donoghue. Force question, it was a shoulder to the head. He was upright, but questionable force. Ribbon's being tackled, so a bit of a dynamic situation. So
I think there would have been enough mitigation to have gone yellow.
Yellow, yeah. I'd probably go with that, but I actually think so. Maybe they got that one wrong.
But that's debate. That's up in the air. But even if I mean, it's a 50. It's kind of 0.5. You should give the ref the benefit of the doubt on that.
Yeah, let's give the ref the benefit of the doubt because he followed the laws. Although I do think that in the same game, Mikey Hayward was lucky not to get a red card for the challenge on Carberry early on.
But if we're being generous, the ref's got 80% in the red card district.
There you go.
80% all the time.
Any other games that we haven't talked about that you particularly enjoyed?
I didn't enjoy Sale. Didn't enjoy it one bit actually.
So Sale. So I've watched the highlights of this. All right. So I'm right in saying that the starting prop Shona and McIntyre
8 seconds in the game,
and that was LaBelle carried
headbutted each other, trying to catch the kickoff.
Oh God!
Simon McIntyre, I was not really a big fan of him signing for Sale. I didn't think I thought it was just local lad coming back. He's done excellent recently.
But off after 8 seconds, him and Shona, which is a bit asking James Harper in his first European game and Bevan Rodd to play 80 minutes against that pack is huge. Yeah. It was always the case. You felt, all right, well, Sale are doing pretty well. They're hanging in here. They lost the man after 18 minutes. God, they're doing all right. They're fighting. You just knew that it was going to happen eventually.
You can't hold them back forever, can you?
Yeah. I think they did well to hold it to 2 tries.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. In fact, I was looking at because I was thinking of like, okay, I'm probably going to talk to Alex Anderson after a defeat. What's the thought here? And at 70 minutes, I was looking through Toulouse's results this season, and I was going, there's no team that has kept them triless all season. And I was thinking, well, that's something if you Sale 15-5 down. If they manage to keep this up. But the 2 tries came in the end.
Even, I think there's a lot of positives to take out of it. Even like 70 minutes with down to 14 men for the whole game, or for 60 minutes, and losing your 2 props. I think there's a lot of positives to take out of that.
So if you think about the effect those two props had on Sale, it's not the scrummaging power per se, because Harper's a big old unit, and Rod's an international prop, so you expect them to do something. The difference is both those lads can carry a ball, and they can both add a lot more attacking dynamism than the starting pair.
Props don't generally play 80 minutes.
Yeah, not many.
Well, yeah.
So Bev and Rod is
So
one
you've
of
got-
few props who's probably conditioned to play 80. There's not many others who do. And when Toulouse changed their front row, bring 150 kg Charlie Faumoina on with, say, 20 minutes to go, and your props played the preceding 60 minutes, that's a tough ask.
But my God, Toulouse are enormous.
Did you get close up to Emmanuel
I
Mayafu?
handed him his Star of the Match trophy.
Yeah.
Huge.
And I think Craig Doyle in the commentary afterwards just said, when he came back off the interview, he went, now, Tim Cocker's not a small man, but he looks tiny next to Manny Mayafu. The guy is a freak.
Yeah.
He was taught, so we have the advertising board for these interviews, and they obviously make them to stand behind these players. His head was above it. He's absolutely enormous.
Well, they could potentially pair him and Wilhelmsey in the same second row. Good God.
Yeah.
Good God.
So his story's amazing as well. So
I don't know it.
He was I played a bit of age grade rugby in Australia, bit of NRL, not for like rugby league. Sorry, not NRL. Then he went to the NFL.
Did he?
Did he?
Yeah, he went onto the player pathway thing at the NFL as a teenager to try and.
Because he's 140
well, he
plus
was,
kg and
he was
6'8".
spot. He was. I think he's more than 6'8". I think he's one of those guys where he's like. Obviously, I work with Martin Bayfield a lot, and he's about the same height as Martin Bayfield. I say he's more 6'9", 6'10". He is enormous. Anyway,
And he is.
Well, the Arnold boys were massive as well.
yeah, Rory Arnold's just enormous. Anyway, he went to the NFL to try and make it on their pathway. That didn't work out. He came back to France and joined the Toulouse Academy. I think he was still only 20.
He's not French, is he?
No, he's Australian. And he's been there for 4 years now, 3.5 years, 3 years. He qualifies on residency in about a month's time. And
Is it not 5 years now?
or maybe it's 5 years.
5 years
Anyway,
now.
maybe it's 5 years.
I'm sure he's ready for
so
World
he's-
Cup.
Not this World Cup.
I think he is.
For
No,
France.
he could be picked in this Six Nations.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure
believe
he's.
so. I
Yeah.
believe so.
Okay.
I believe so.
So France could do with a bit more size, couldn't they?
Yeah, another non-French naturalised second row of
Interesting.
giant proportions.
Oh, so maybe because there was the 3 year, 5 year rule. He might have
He got
landed
in
in
just
France
before.
just before.
So,
the,
like Australia are a team who do struggle up front a bit.
God, him and Will Skelton as a second row unit.
My word.
God.
My word. Talk about turning the tables on the South Africans. It would be marvellous to see that. I mean, they already play a nice brand of rugby when they get their act together. They've got some great athletes, great skillful players, but they just lack that hard edge. Get those two together. Oof.
Yeah.
that is a bit of
they
a hard
didn't.
edge.
But Howney's not capped yet, so they can still do it.
No, I know, but if I were him, if it was about money, then you pick the French choice. If it was about just heart and
Rubbish. What about romance and croissants and wine?
You want to play
What
for
about
where your mum and dad were from.
What about
You know what I
living-
mean? Where your granddad was.
Not interested. What about living your best life?
Would he be allowed? Because the Ghetto law has changed. It's not the 60 cap law, but would he even be eligible?
Yeah.
Or they can only bring in 3 players as it currently stands. So
Take him. Take him.
maybe, but then you've got to overlook Rory Arnold.
True.
And then people like Karevi.
Adam
or
Coleman.
Coleman, yeah, there's lots of players.
Wasn't there talk of Coleman playing for Tonga? I don't think that's going to
Yes, there
happen.
was, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was. So he's got a Tongan father, has he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm half Welsh, half English. Someone puts a contract for Wales in front of me, contract for England. I'm thinking, England sounds nice. Bath, probably. I could see myself fitting in nicely at Bath. Maybe win a few things at Saracens. Yeah. Ospreys, sorry guys. I like Wales, but not that much. And someone says to me, you could play for France.
JB, we've just found, we've been doing some genealogy. We found you've got a French grandfather.
I'd get adopted. I would. I'd get adopted. I'd find someone to adopt me.
We joked about that with Mark Atkinson, didn't we?
Oh, we did it. Yeah. I get to play where? La Rochelle, Toulouse. Okay. Oh, absolutely. Racing. Yeah. With Racing have their own wine cellar.
Yeah.
They have their own wine cellar. So yeah, it'd be an easy decision. Why anyone would want to go and play anywhere else but France is beyond me.
I think I'd like to do La Rochelle. Just seems cool. I wouldn't want to do Racing, but even though they've got the best kit in the world and the best stadium in the world, because you have to live in Paris.
Paris is a hellhole, isn't it?
Yeah.
Marseille is also a hellhole.
Although I imagine if you're earning, I imagine you'll be earning £1 million. You'll be on the
minimum.
Well, Finn Russell goes to Bath.
I can play wing or tight head prop.
JB gets Finn Russell money.
No, I wouldn't. I'd get like top tight head prop money plus racker money.
Yeah. Which probably, and you can do
Pinot money.
Your third choice centre money as well.
Yeah.
So you're getting 500k for being a top tight head prop. You're getting 300k for being a top winger. And then you're getting an extra 150k for being a utility centre.
Easy money,
/ back row.
Easy money.
So, yeah, you're on £1 million a year. Maybe Paris is different if you're earning £1 million a year.
I hope so.
But
I've only heard good things about living in Lyon too.
Lyon would be interesting. Toulouse would be cool. I don't know, I just like La Rochelle at the moment.
It's too far. It's not very big.
It's not that big.
I like a bit of nightlife.
Being by the coast.
Yeah. I've got 2 more good years in me yet.
Yeah, definitely.
For Toulouse.
So,
anyway, I don't know. So what's Sale? Gus War comfortably outplayed DuPont, right?
Well, didn't Rafi Quirk come on for the last 30 or so?
He was on the bench.
Yeah, he came on for 35 minutes.
Did he do anything?
Sale were up
really
against it. Sale were up against it. Yeah, it was good to see him back. Rat's tail, though, a bit questionable.
You got rat's tail?
Yeah, he's got a little rat's tail. I think he's been hanging around with Australian Rugby League players too long.
Wasn't he the barber in the England squad? Did I see that?
Really?
I'm sure when he was in the England squad.
It's very, very worrying, nonetheless.
I think maybe he's been told by his teammates he's not allowed to. He can only cut it off once he's played again. That might have been
okay.
I can imagine it might have been a bet.
Yeah.
Did you pick up any hints of George Ford news whilst you were walking around Sale?
All I can tell you is that George Ford was stood in the tunnel with Tom Curry and just watching the game. And I wouldn't be surprised. We'll talk about this on the England pod, but I wouldn't be surprised if he is named in Steve Borthwick's squad, even without having played a game.
So I'm certain he will be named in the squad because when they do the squad, or historically, I don't know what Borthwick will do, but they name injured players ordinarily in the England squad. So he would normally get named for that reason. Whether Borthwick still does that, whether he has to do it because you've got the EPS, the elite player squad, that you can only have so many players in and out, therefore players get named injured if they're in previous squads. I don't know if Borthwick's forced to do that, but I'd be astonished if he wasn't in that. But I think you might be right, he could be, because often Eddie Jones only named 2 players in certain key positions. Weirdly, like he'd often only name 2 scrum halves or only 2 fly halves, and one of them's you're starting inside centre as well. So, we might see
luckily that madness is gone now.
Yeah, hopefully
we'll see.
No, Borthwick is a very astute man. We'll not see any of the nonsense from.
Yeah.
Or any
You're not going to get
games.
any what's it called, apprentices that get chewed up and spat out again.
The turnover players, I think, will be less.
I don't think you're going to see any Gary Grahams or Luke Moores. Sam Moore. I don't think you'll see that. I don't think you'll see any of this nonsense. It's going to be pure rugby from now on.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we could go into a World Cup genuinely with Ford Faz axis as the 10-12.
I don't think he's going to play around.
I think
there's going to be a player named tomorrow who Tim very much likes, who will make sure that Faz is not playing 12. I will say no more.
Interesting.
Say no more. From Stockport, no less. Right. Sale. Do you think they'll go through?
They've got a win in Ulster, and Ulster can go through. Just to dovetail the two together, how heartbreaking was Ulster's defeat?
How heartbreaking was it 0-0?
So yeah, or 3-0.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch the start of that. I watched the start of Exeter Bulls.
Yeah, same, because I thought, La Rochelle are going to batter them.
Yeah. Also, effectively got nothing to play for.
And they sent a slightly weakened.
Yeah, well, they've got injuries. Yeah. So I think I might, don't quote me on this. I think it was just about as strong as they could put out, given the injuries. But so I've watched the last 20 minutes of it, and then I've watched the full highlights of it. because I was watching Exeter. What unbelievable conditions.
Yeah, incredible.
Incredible to watch Hastoy and Doak lining up kicks and miss kicks. Incredible to watch Ulster, and they've done this in the past, and it's cost them. Refuse points or turn down shots at goal to kick for the corner, which, if you think you're better than the opposition, fine. But on a day like that, against a pack like that in La Rochelle, it does look a little bit foolish because they probably they did turn down more than 6 kickable points, which would have been the difference between the two teams.
Yeah.
So,
but to lose in that fashion with the final play of the game.
Well, and this is the Ulster way that going into that game I had no hope. With 78 minutes on the clock, I had hope, and then there's the Andrew Warwick failed turn, a penalty that kicked for the corner, and then it just felt inevitable. And it's the hope that kills you, as you often say, JB.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been some result had they held on, but
it would have been.
Yeah. So I think pure pride and everything, and Ulster are doing okay in the URC, so I think they'll want to go out with a win.
They will. Ulster will. So Ulster have, I think that's 6 from 7 games that they've lost now. They've been on a bad run of form. They will.
And there is a chance they could
themselves.
qualify. Very outside chance, but there's a chance.
It's not in their hands, but they can qualify.
Yeah.
But Sale are more likely to qualify, even though it's not in Sale's hands.
You want to talk quickly about someone Sale have lost?
What? No, I just want to say on the Ulster thing. Bearing in mind, I was over in Belfast and there was the snow and the frozen off pitch, and Ulster were forced to move but to keep the same kick-off time the same. And one of the reasons was you cannot. Ulster, you cannot move the kick-off to another time. And then Bath's game gets called off, and they weren't playing up the road at Ashton Gate behind closed doors.
Were they in Gloucester?
They've just moved it.
They've just moved it a couple of
weird,
days.
isn't it?
Which is like, hold on, but 2 weeks ago...
Don't ask questions, Tim.
A month ago...
It will make you much more unhappy if you ask questions.
A month ago, a club had to swallow a 700k
Bizarre
loss.
This is the conspiracy against Ulster, just like that time that Jared Payne got red carded for Alex Good jumping on his own head.
Is it okay to say the conspiracies against Owen Farrell are true? Will you allow me to say that if I give you one for Ulster?
No, but the Owen Farrell one's nonsense. The Ulster one is true.
Yeah, and that's the difference, really.
It's
fundamental. One of them is debunked and fact-checked by the BBC, and the other one, well, we just don't talk about that.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, exactly.
Sale have lost a member of their team.
Yes.
Mike Forshaw to Wales.
Yeah,
did not see that coming.
I did not see that coming.
And they're going to be promoting from within. The other one that was apparently in the frame and was being thought about was Paul Gustard. But I mean, look at Sale Sharks. They've been the best defensive team in the last 3-4 years.
Do you want my view on this? My honest view on this?
Let me guess. Your view is that defence coach is the easiest job in rugby, and all you have to do is shout line speed, get a statue of a bear.
Yeah, everything you say is absolutely true, and I'm not sure Mike Forshaw's ever done any of it. Right, so under Dimes, obviously he came in as defence coach, and he must have been there for 8 years now, mustn't he?
10.
10. It's like first year of the podcast he showed up at Sale, so he's like part of the furniture.
I think it was a coincidence.
No, it is directly linked. I have been in quite a few press conferences, and I don't know if it's just the Steve Diamond thing. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. And he's completely thrown Forshaw underneath the bus. So one of the press conferences after the game, he said the players literally did not know where to stand in defence, so we had to break it all down and do guard and bodyguard, and that's why we won this week, because we went back to basics. And it's kind of the thing that I like about Dimes is he's always got his eye on the very, very basics, and sometimes coaches do get a little bit carried away with what they're doing. It's not the first time that I'd heard that, and I think Sale's defensive renaissance has got a lot to do with the fact that you've got an excellent defence coach in Alex Sanderson. For all of the other things that might annoy me about him, he's a superb defence coach. So when he's come in, I don't know if Forshaw is still doing the defence or if he's still running the drills, but it's got to be Sanderson inspired, right?
No.
Do you not think?
I'm sure he'll have an input, but Mike Forshaw's the defence coach.
Yeah, but mean,
So when there's defensive drills to be done, it's like, right, we're focusing. The next hour, we're focusing on defence for this weekend. Mike.
But surely some of the strategy and the vision and the direction is at least in part shaped by one of the most successful defence coaches in English rugby.
Yeah.
Who's
there's no
the
way
current head coach.
There's no way Sanderson's walked through the door. He goes, right, what are we doing for defence? Mike's got that. All right, well, I'll go and have some Mel back.
Yeah, never going to look at it.
Yeah.
There will be some strategic stuff.
Well, of course then. So you'd say that, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I just don't know.
No, I have no idea if it's 80% credit in one direction, 20% in the other, 90-10, 50-50.
That sort of means that you can't say any individual coach.
No, it's
can take credit for anything.
You hear?
Oh no, I still think there's credit, but it must be. There must be.
Look, if he's in an organisation and he's a defence coach and they're brilliant at defence, that's worth something to someone. In this case, Wales. But I would just say, if it was me looking for a defence coach, I'm not sure I'd have gone that direction.
Well, all it also means is if Warren Gatland's understands his defence, then Mike Forshaw will be fine.
Yeah,
anyway.
he must have a great reference from someone. I wonder what the link is. I can't even think what the link is. Like, you often see a link, don't you? Like,
well, Sale Sharks are the best defensive team in England.
That makes sense.
Christ.
I guess my point would be, in team situations, it's incredibly rare for any one person to take 100% of the credit. It's always a combined, except when Steve Diamond is failing for 10 consecutive years to make top 4.
Well, I mean, he would do with the amount of money which he
can take. Diamond can take 100% credit.
I think it's fair to say every win was because of Steve Diamond, and every loss was because of. Let's go with Mike Forshaw.
Yeah, no. Pick whoever you want.
Yeah. I would also say I'd love to know what the context of Sale's season was when you went to a press conference where Steve Diamond threw one of his coaches under the bus. Was it that Sale were under pressure and the Dimes was thinking, people might start thinking I'm not that good anymore?
Maybe.
Well, let me throw someone to the wolves.
Well, all I'll say is, in the AJ Bell, when Dimes did his post game, it was a very friendly press room. He's not going to have any problem with any of those guys there. But yeah, it was. They were under the pump. And I remember he singled out the Romanian prop and someone else. Was it Romanian prop? I want to say Russian prop. Definitely.
Morozov.
No, it was the Romanian fella and someone else it was. But anyway. It's interesting. It's interesting that they've gone that direction.
Any more on the rugby front? Saracens
let me run through the games, and then we'll see if you want to talk through it. So Gloucester hosted Leinster.
Sorry, you missed Harlequins.
Yeah. So I'm going to run through the games, and we'll see which ones pique our interest.
Headline, yeah.
Gloucester, Leinster.
Leinster were great. Gloucester were just.
The one thing I will say for this, Gloucester scored 2 good. Well, I think they were both penalty tries and yellow cards from rolling mauls. That will be an area where other teams will look at Leinster. Well, in the quarters, semis, and in the knockouts, that's somewhere to target.
Is that not exactly sort of the analysis of the Premiership teams? They're good at what they do.
It is, but I'm more because Gloucester's European journey, if it's not already mathematically ended, will end in a week's time. Leinster's will continue, but teams like La Rochelle, like the Sharks, who've got big, strong packs like Toulouse, will be targeting that rolling maul.
Well, hear me now, believe me later. Leinster will get taken apart in 2 areas. Maybe that will be one of them. But the second one would therefore be the scrum. I don't think they're a good scrimmaging team. I think one of the bigger boys are going to take them to pieces.
Interesting.
Okay. Andrew Porter, I just love that guy. And Caelan Doris is looking awesome.
Oh, by the way, I didn't see the game. What was Leinster's new inside centre like? Apparently he's outstanding.
Osborne, he looked good.
Made some nice breaks. Got a decent set of wheels on him.
Mm-hmm. Could get included in the Six Nations squad, maybe. Who knows? We'll see. Next game.
So we've talked about Sale Toulouse. Then Sharks Bordeaux.
No.
I didn't really see it. The Sharks look good. Sia Khaleesi looked great.
Bordeaux, Kobolash, your boy, was playing. But
still going?
30-3, they got pumped.
Yeah, and Sharks, it is basically a South African pack.
Yeah.
And Bordeaux didn't send the strongest team. Was there anything that I found interesting in this game? I've watched the highlights. I've watched so much rugby and highlights this week.
Into one.
Yeah. Simultaneous with that was Munster Northampton, which we briefly mentioned, the Jack O'Donoghue red card, and Mikey Haywood maybe should have.
Northampton is Northampton to valiantly come back and come up just short.
Yes.
Very nice attacking rugby.
Yeah. Gavin Coombs looked good. Scored 2 tries, was dominant carrying, and got the held up at the end when Northampton were like pushing for the win. He held up the Northampton.
Courtney Law's starting 7. That was interesting as well. But he's back. He's back and playing.
It's quite a big back row with Salakai Lotto and Laws there.
Well, it almost worked for them. To go and come up just short in Munster deserves some credit.
Yes, definitely.
Already spoke about Bulls Exeter, La Rochelle Ulster. Saracens were great.
Elliot
great. Daly was mint.
Elliot Daly looked amazing. Although I think there might have been some crossing for the first.
He was so worth.
First try.
He was so worth missing a year of Premiership rugby for.
He's great. He looks good. He looks so good.
There were times at this. So when I think there's 6 tries in the first half, Saracens went. Funny getting cheats and racists confused. Saracens went 28 points up after 28 minutes, and it was already over. And then they maybe switched off in defence a few times to allow that fullback Dumortier to score a couple of nice tries, but it was always going to be Saracens.
Then Harlequins.
Anything else that we've not mentioned?
We mentioned Ospreys Montpellier, Cast Edinburgh.
That's a good win for Edinburgh.
Edinburgh, they're doing all right, aren't they?
Edinburgh are dangerous, and Saracens have got to go to Edinburgh next week, and that could be an upset.
Yeah, well, Edinburgh nearly turned over Saracens. Yes. They're a good team, Edinburgh. They've built some very nice players, like having someone like Sam Skinner, who you can bring in last season to add some ballast to that pack. It's pretty handy.
Is the boy Healy going to Edinburgh?
There's been some talk about that, whether because he's down the pecking order in Ireland. We'll watch.
Oh, the Munster 10.
Yeah.
We'll see. But possibly there is talk of that. One to watch.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But yeah, good win.
Very good. Yeah, very good win away in Cast. That's no mean feat at all. Irish Stormers we talked about. Irish shot themselves in the foot.
Yes.
Stormers looked all right. Looked decent. Damien Wilhelms is good at rugby.
Yeah.
Quins. Let's talk about Quins now. We do Quins.
In the final game, what a game.
Enjoyed this. Now, I was watching Quins, right, and I was thinking back to Paul Gustard and his time and why it was so disastrous. I think one of the things or reasons he was such a disaster is because sometimes being early is the same as being late. Sorry, is the same as being wrong. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I think he made a rather astute decision looking at the resources that he had and got rid of 2 of the most influential players almost immediately. So that was Charlie Walker and it was also Tim Visser. Those boys were tearing up the Premiership the year before he arrived. And what's his name now? Conor O'Shea. And he basically neutered the whole Quins attack because he thought, well, I'm not going to pay wingers that much. In the time that he's been gone, you know that I love Caden Murley. Mm-hmm. Well, I do love Caden Murley. I think Caden Murley is showing he's an absolute class act now.
Yeah.
So that's another one that I'd go for in the England team. Lewis Liner, Oscar Beard. As these guys are now starting to get really, really good, it's not a coincidence that Quins have started to get really, really good. In the end, resulting in winning the Premiership. And I think of all of the teams that could go far in Europe outside of Sale, it would be Quins. Because just a one-off game every couple of weeks, who would you back to score more points than Harlequins?
Quins is not a bad shout, because if they get their best choice tight 5 in, they can hold.
Yeah, their scrum was ace.
Yeah, their scrum was excellent, because Marler is one of the best scrummaging loose heads in the world, and you pair him alongside Vilko Lowe, who does he had a bad knee injury, didn't he? He does. Certainly in this game, he was scrummaging very well.
Yeah, they were really putting Racing under a lot of pressure. You know, they've got a decent set piece. They've got a great attack. Some of the things Marcus Smith did were just superb.
Oh.
And he plays so much. Him and Kerr in that system just play so nice. So nice together.
I will say, so Francis Saili should know a little bit about Marcus Smith.
Yep.
He gave him, on multiple occasions, so much time and space.
Yeah.
Criminal. But if you give it to Marcus Smith, he
There's not many men
on his return. He looked fantastic.
There's not many men in all of world rugby who have got a harder job than Francis Saili, because he's got to replace Vakatawa at 13.
Yes,
which is really difficult.
That is pretty
And
difficult.
he does all right, actually. Like, when he's got the ball going forward.
Yeah,
he's great.
He looked good going forward.
But yeah, you're right. So much space. I love that combination of Esther Hazen and Marchant. I think that's the best centre pairing.
That 8, 9, 10, 12, 13.
In fact, I'm going to go one further. That's the best centre pairing in the Premiership. Anyone can give me a better centre pairing than that?
No.
I do like Tompkins and Lazowski, although I don't think it's as good as that.
No. No. That is the best.
Yeah.
Comfortably.
It's by a distance.
Can
actually.
I tell you a centre pairing that I think is going to be very, very good towards the end of the season? Northampton.
Dingwall with
Nope.
Hutchinson
One of those two, but with someone else.
with Proctor.
Nope.
So this would be
Freeman?
a massive premonition if it So I did a YouTube video where when I was talking about the England centre position, I said the long-term project for England's 12, the solution to England's 12 is Tommy Freeman.
Ooh.
12.
Crazy. But no, that's not the answer. Berger Odendal.
Is he joining? No, that's next season.
Next season.
Oh, I thought it was this season he's joining.
No.
No, I noticed one of our fancy rugby draft league teams picked him up and saw the headline. Was very quick to pick him up, but
Oh,
unlucky.
so what's he doing then for the rest of the year?
He's playing in Japan.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, well, I tell you what, I think he's going to be a great asset for
He's a good.
Northampton then.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Exactly the same way.
On that, I think Tommy Freeman. I just look at him like the way that Gail Fickou can play wing. Or
You don't think it's going to be a waste?
12.
A waste for him?
Well, I look at England's resource. We can talk about this when we look at the England squad, but we've got so many great back three players, not many centres, and I just think he's a big lad, good distribution skills, good all-round footballer, and he strikes me as the sort of guy that could play centre. 13, 12, I think he could be a shout.
What England need to do is find he's played too recently, actually. I was going to say, find an English grandmother for Andre Esterhazen.
Oh, yeah.
How he's...
Did he play again in the autumn?
He did play in the autumn, yeah. In almost any other team in the world, he'd be the starting 12 for a generation.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this might be the last World Cup for Diolande.
Yeah, it probably is.
And then it's going to be Esterhazen's for the foreseeable, I
But
guess.
Phil's point is the right one. He's probably the second best inside centre in the world.
Yeah, he's amazing. Did you see him? Melt was the description given to his hit on your boy, Wocky. He levelled Wocky.
Love Wocky.
Wocky doesn't love Esterhazen.
It was great.
Right,
actually, on this game, so we've got to mention the finish, but also got to mention the wingers. You've been talking up the Harlequins' homegrown wingers, which rightly so.
Yep.
One of their homegrown
Aaron
wingers
Morris.
had a absolute stinker.
Well, he's not.
He'll be feeling
He's
awful
not homegrown.
tonight.
Is he not?
No, he's from Saracens.
Is he?
I think he's from Saracens. Yeah.
Is he
Sure?
a secret agent?
I knew it. Yeah, when he missed the Danny Kerr kick, that was... I mean, it's not his fault entirely, but it's just like another one of those nearly there moments. He missed the try.
He is Saracens. So born in Bedford, but Saracens.
What do you know? I know my
Blues,
rugby.
Scottish.
He'll feel awful.
How come you never win a quiz against Tim then? If you know your
Because
rugby?
you don't ask the right questions. You ask stupid questions like how many points were scored.
You need to go really niche.
Yeah, I don't remember scores. I remember where players have been and what they've done.
Here's a question for you that I was going to ask before.
Far away. I'll definitely get it right.
Where is Paul Gustard now?
It's not Zebra, is it?
It's not Zebra.
It's not Benetton.
Your beloved Benetton.
He was at Benetton for a little while. Is he at like Racing? Is he in France somewhere?
Interesting. Tim, do you know?
Sorry, I missed that. I'm
Stade Francais.
distracted. What are you saying?
JB's already answered it.
Yeah,
he is at Stade Francais. He was at your beloved Benetton for a couple of years. He's now a defence coach at Stade Francais.
Who was second in the table.
And he's brought in, or part of the swing for Marchant going there, evidently, which is interesting. I thought he was still at Benetton.
Yeah.
Well, I actually wasn't certain. I was going to ask before, is he still at Benetton?
No.
But no.
So he's going to acquire a very interesting CV, isn't he? He's had huge success with Saracens. Did okay for a little bit with England, then didn't. Actually, no, because he got...
It's more good than bad, much more
No,
good
because he
than
got
bad.
picked up by Harlequins on the strength of a good showing.
Yeah.
He
He
went-
was signed for England, signed for Harlequins when he was still at the...
Yeah, he's
England
right
was still at the top of the way. It wasn't downfall.
These are peaks and troughs.
But hang on, Tim, hang on.
He's on the way
But
back.
hang on. He also was in charge at Benetton when they did great things like win the
Rainbow Cup.
and that's quite cool. And they'll start from sale second.
Yeah.
So imagine if he gets the top 14, it's a great comeback story.
Yeah. Now he was only an assistant coach at Benetton, not head coach.
Same as Lancaster.
Yeah. So he's probably one of those where he's good up to a point. The Peter principle. Everyone gets promoted to their level of incompetence.
Yeah.
Should we run through next week's games?
No.
We've got to talk about the finish of this game.
Go on.
It's an amazing comeback from Quins in that second half. And then they should have won it. Racing were down to 12 men, then they would still finish with 13 men.
Why were they down to 12?
There's 3 yellow cards.
Oh, the TV only showed the 2.
No, yeah.
As in, so I saw the third offence, and I skipped forward 10 minutes, but the yellow card didn't show up on the thing, so I thought it must be a penalty.
Yeah, there's 3.
Oh.
Finn Russell, the winger when Finn Russell knocked it on. So
That's
Finn Russell
right,
for the knockdown, the winger for the knockdown,
And the
Eddie Benarous
maul
for the
offence,
maul,
yeah.
driving maul. Yes.
incredible scenes.
Harlequin should have won that.
Could have, would have, should have.
Could have won, should have. And then it'd be looking possible for a home last 16. Anyway,
Right.
next week's fixtures, Tim.
No, this week's fixtures.
This week's.
Fixtures. Toc H won an incredible game, incredible hard-fought game against Bolton, 18-13. And guess who got man of the match, boys?
Player of the match. Star of
Star
the
of
match.
the
No,
match.
man of the match.
Your
Masculine hero of the game.
Is it Wilco, your quality older 10? I
No,
say
it
older.
was not. So
Not that much older.
He is a quality older 10. No two ways about it. But look,
Your number 8, who's very good and can also hook.
no, not
You're 15.
him. No, not him. We're gonna go quite far down the line.
Was it your handsome?
30 scrums in, one pushover try.
Was it your handsome, combative, sometimes argumentative, tight head prop / winger?
It was the tight head prop / winger. What a game he had!
What a man!
What a game! So that means we are now top of the table.
Yes.
Although,
come on, Toc.
If LSH win their next game because they got called off with a bonus point, they go top of the table.
Ooh.
But if
have you got a game in hand, or have they got?
They've got a game in hand now, so we're on similar points. We were ahead of them on points difference.
Yeah.
Aspel called off,
Yeah.
so they didn't play. Tarleton called off. They've got 2 games now. If they win their 2 games, they'll be 2 points ahead of us in the table. But we've still got to play Tarleton. Tarleton's still got to play LSH, the last game of the season.
Oh.
So things are hotting up. Talking of hotting up, Aylesbury have won 6 games on the bounce.
Yes.
Including an enormous win this weekend against second in the table. I think it's like 46-20 something.
Awesome.
Which is a huge win against Priorians. So that's 43-29. 6 games, 6 home games? No, 6 games unbeaten. But here's the one that I really wanted to talk about. From David Doran. He is the president of Old Wimbledonians. Let's get it right. Old Wimbledonians? Wimbledonians?
Yes, I would say Wimbledonians is correct.
Wimbledonians, right? So these guys are level 9, hopefully going up. Yesterday, they had a second 15 ready to go for the first time in 7 years. But of course, pitches were waterlogged, so called off. On the same day, but it's a level 9 club. One of their under 18s was playing for Quins, and 2 of their former juniors playing for England under 20s. So
awesome.
If you want to know who the Quinn is, it's a guy called Cassius Cleves, who apparently
he is an exceptional winger. He is, so I've seen some A-League tries from him. He is lightning.
I've already Googled him, so I knew about this guy before actually, and he's a big old boy. So yeah,
he is impressive winger. Some wheels on him.
And if I'm ever down in Wimbledon, I'll try and get a game for their 2s.
Yes.
Right, now you can wrap it up, Tim.
Well, no, next weekend's games. That's great.
Yes.
Oh, okay, go on. You just do the English teams.
I will just do.
There's only
20 million games.
12 fixtures.
Yes. So Friday night we've got 2 games, 8 o'clock kickoffs. Leon host the Bulls.
Bulls.
Whatevs. Bulls.
That's exactly how I feel.
Leon, I don't know.
And then let me just bring this to my other window so I can see the tables.
At least there's one right game with lots riding on it. Leicester Ospreys is awesome.
It is. I've got a feeling
Pool A,
Ospreys are
Leon-
going to win that.
So Leon are 10th, Bulls are 6th. So Bulls, Leicester host Ospreys Friday night, yes.
Ospreys deserve to
3rd and
lose
5th.
for their kit, which is an absolute abomination.
It's not, Tim. It's
that
not.
Kit is the equivalent of Alan Wynne-Jones's hair, which is the equivalent of Justin Tipperich's rig.
Boys, you've got it wrong. The Ospreys kit is perfect for Ospreys.
That's going to be my first question to Toby Booth. Toby, your thoughts on Justin Tipperich's rig
If you had,
and Alan Wynne-Jones's hair?
I can see 3 problems. Which do you sort out first? The kit, the rig, or the hair?
Yeah. Then on to Saturday, we've got in the 1 p.m. kickoffs, Quins v Sharks, which
Pool 8.
Quins have to win that.
Yeah.
Sharks are looking for the home quarter final and potentially semi final, last 16, a quarter and maybe semi as well if they get a 5-point win.
Yeah, Sharks currently unbeaten, one of the 6.
And the same is true for La Rochelle visiting Northampton, who have very little to play for.
Northampton currently dead last in Pool B.
2 away wins.
Yeah, and Northampton have. This week was their first point on the board.
No. Save it for the next podcast. I know. Save it for the next podcast.
Do you know what I know?
I was saving it for the next podcast.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah, no.
Let's keep going.
No, stop. And then we'll get Phil's reaction. Get Phil's reaction. We will get Phil's live reaction in a minute. We'll break the news on the next
I won't refresh anything.
Okay,
That's
cool.
unbelievable.
Shush. 3 o'clock kickoff, 3:15 kickoffs are Bordeaux v Gloucester, which is a dead rubber game.
Rubber.
Don't care. And Leinster v Racing, which Leinster will sweep home to get the top spot and make sure that they don't play any more games outside of Ireland.
Yes.
I'm in a state of shock.
5:30 p.m. Exeter v Cast. Exeter will win. And Stormers v Claremont.
Yes.
Stormers will win. Claremont. Well, Claremont.
Yeah, Stormers will win.
And 8 p.m. The 8 p.m. kickoff, which is a shootout for potential qualification. I'm actually quite looking forward to this. Ulster v Sale.
Yeah, it would be tough. It'd be tough, although with Claremont not winning, it could happen.
Okay,
they could.
I'll go for a home win.
Come on, Ulster!
And Sunday,
it would be incredible if Ulster,
yeah,
after coming top, last season, unbeaten in the pool stage, and having the prize of playing Toulouse home and away and losing it, who qualified last. The same thing could happen again.
Yeah, totally.
Although maybe it might be cross pool, but they might get the pleasure of playing Leinster or Sharks. Anyway,
what I think is quite cool is as we go through these Sunday games, these teams are going to know not only what they need to do to qualify, but who they will probably play depending on how various results go. Montpellier v Irish, a little bit of a dead rubber feel about that one. Home win. Toulouse v Munster should be tasty. Toulouse to win at home.
Yes, Toulouse to remain unbeaten. Montpellier, they will qualify if they win.
Yeah.
Irish, it's pretty much impossible for them to win.
Yeah.
For them to qualify.
And then Edinburgh v Saracens, the final game of the weekend, which is a really good one to finish with.
It is. Yeah, because Edinburgh should qualify. They've already won 2, but that could determine home semi-final for them or Saracens home knockout stages.
I cannot wait to start the next podcast, which will be in your feed, just to hear Phil's reaction to the news that JB and I know.
Right.
You will never. I don't think you'll ever guess.
So
interesting.
Right. So listen to that one. Hit subscribe. More content at patreon.com/EggChasers. All that stuff. Let the boys play.